What's going on, guys? We are back for the next Around the Hearth with the inn of Planar Crossroads. I've said it before, I'll say it again. If you don't subscribe to their channel, we can't be friends, guys. It's super important. Follow this card right up here to be directed to their channel. Usually we have like 5 or 6 dudes hanging out for Around the Hearth, but today it's just me and Adam and Kane talking about how nervous we are that we're recording this on a Monday night, so Tuesday in like 3-4 days, we're gonna have to see each other in person, not on Discord or Google Hangouts. So that'll be fun.
I'm waiting for this to be like a huge scam. Like I'm gonna get down to St. Louis, you're gonna knock me over for my wallet and just abandon me in Missouri.
Take all your plastic money, throw you in the Mississippi.
What is this? None of this is worth anything. Nobody will take this crap here.
We'll just leave you in a bathtub full of ice, you know.
Yeah, take one of my kidneys.
No, I could use them.
Trust me, you don't want my kidneys. They're full of
alcohol.
Psoriasis.
Or that. Well, fair enough. So we got some Pathfinder 2nd Edition stuff on topic of discussion tonight. We've got The Monk was released a couple hours ago. And I don't even know how to feel. Well, I kind of know how to feel. It seems good. And also we've got all those conditions that come down on Friday. I think I'm going to turn it over to you two first. Let me get your 2 cents out of it, because I know how I feel.
Alright, so we're starting with the monk?
Sure.
Alright, Adam, go first.
Me? Alright.
Do you want me to go first?
I don't know. I was kind of wondering what you were going to try and convince me of this time, but...
No, I'll just wait for you to bitch about it so that I know what I'm talking about specifically.
Oh, okay. Okay. You get to formulate your counterpoints while I'm blabbing.
That is how debate team works.
Boom.
As far as the monk goes, I mean, it feels still like a monk. It doesn't feel overly changed or anything like that. Aside from the no wisdom to AC, I don't see much of a problem with what I'm sensing about the monk. It looks pretty good. I like that you get to pick whether you're going to be a strength monk or a dexterity monk. That'll work well with people wanting to optimize or that are planning to multi-class. But really, as it's stacking up right now, dexterity is probably going to still be king in as far as boosting your AC for what you're going to invest into it. But then again, it may not, with how you're not going to be boosting your stats the same way you did in first edition. So we'll just have to see on that one.
Yeah.
They do start out with excellent saving throws. And that's going to be a big deal when they're dealing with magic users or any kind of beasts or even just poisons or alchemists that they have to do. I mean, their saves are good to have, period. Because almost every monster that you face, not necessarily every NPC, but almost every monster you'll face, at least in first edition, would have some kind of thing to go along with it that you had to save against to kind of give it some something to deal with creatures that didn't, so that they could deal with creatures that didn't have good saves but were otherwise dominating the monster. I don't know. I'm liking it so far. It's just there is an implication that seems to be coming forward. It kind of got brought up in the Rise of the Rune Lords chat that we have for the group that's running through that on IOPC, and it feels like every class is getting to be magical, which is, I don't know. I understand why. It's a high magic setting. There's no pretending that Pathfinder isn't a high magic setting. But on the other side of that, it was kind of nice to be able to pretend that it wasn't sometimes. So
yeah, that's true. There's like looking at Joe, who's not here today, and his low magic settings. It's weird that everyone feels like magical air quotes, but a lot of the things that are magical, again, throw in the air quotes hard, were already there in 1E. Like, the barbarians already had their totems that could give them crazy stuff. The monks had key powers that looks like mostly you're getting the same thing. I don't know. I never played an Unchained monk, so I don't know if we had like a cone key blast thing like we're seeing for 2nd edition.
Yeah. Well, you kind of did with like the dragon style. But that was a style feat, and you had to invest in that type of monk specifically, which you'd still have to invest. And that is kind of something that I do like. You're automatically out of the gate going to get the chance to say, well, I don't want to be a magic-y type monk. I want to be just a beat-em-up type monk. So I'm just going to focus on style feats and no key stuff.
That does feel kind of cool.
On the other hand, having key, if you only have one thing to devote, one ability score to that you have to focus on, aka your dexterity, you're playing a dex monk, you don't have to worry about any other stat except wisdom then.
Or like your con.
Well, I mean, even so, your dexterity is going to be high enough. If it's your main stat, you're going to be right up there with a fighter for AC. Even if he gets to have a a shield bonus and stuff, because you're devoting all of your AC into the dexterity.
Yeah.
And if you just devote into your dexterity and then put your second highest in wisdom, then you could be a key-based monk geared around dexterity, and you're probably going to be doing more damage and be more efficient in battle than someone who's not. But that may not be the case with the way the actions work out. It's going to depend a lot on how they work those actions out.
Yeah, I think it will too. I'm seeing one thing I don't see is we didn't see today the monk's hit points, and I'm very curious to see if it's an 8 or a 10, like the monk to the Unchained. Sitting here scrolling through it again.
That reminds me, something that will probably please Tommy.
That's me.
Monks, they don't mention anything about having to be lawful.
Well, they don't. Yeah, they truly don't. I don't think they will be. I think if the barbarian got let off, I think the monk will too. Especially because it seems like the monk is getting, like, completely redefined. Well, maybe not completely redefined, but you have, like, the magic-y monk with your key guys, and then, like, if you want to build a sumo wrestler, your pure strength, or if you want to build, like, some dude from a Jet Li movie, then you go the dex route, and you're jumping on top of people's bullets and stuff.
Well,
I don't know.
I guess that is one way.
Good.
I guess that is one way to distinguish it. The Pathfinder 1E monks felt more like Shaolin monks.
Yeah.
And these monks seem to feel more like Dragon Ball Z characters.
That's fair, yeah. I'll also say that,
if
like,
you're shooting fire blasts out of your hand, Kamehameha style, or maybe Street Fighter would be a better example.
Shoryuken!
Yeah. Shoryuken!
Seems good. I guess, like, from my point of view, you guys both know that my characters dip monk all the time, because then I'll get that sweet wisdom bonus to AC, and my armor class will be higher than the dude in the full plate who's illegally dual-wielding tower shields, as Kane pointed out so long ago on one of my videos.
It's not illegally dual-wielding them, he just can't benefit from both.
Fair, that's almost worse. Regardless, though, like, I get why they're doing that, and I think that's a very fair nerf, and in my prediction video, I called it. Just saying. Also, I like how the style feats are getting, like, built into the monk. I really like that Crane style is coming back. Like, I don't remember how it worked pre-errata, but that seems to be how it was pre-errata, right? If it missed, you got to attack for free?
Yeah, pretty much. It's almost the same.
Fair enough. And this one is, I wasn't, like, it's probably a reaction. Yeah, it's a reaction. Okay. So that seems really powerful, and I like how the styles are flavored differently now. Like, Dragon style lets you do 1d10 bludgeoning damage, and you have backswing on your melee attacks, whereas, like, Crane wing attacks are a d6 of bludgeoning, and it's agile, finesse, non-lethal, unarmed. it makes it feel a little more mechanical and a little more like, because weapons are getting overhauled so hard in Pathfinder First Edition. Yeah. If we didn't have those weapon qualities on our unarmed strike as a monk, it'd feel wrong. It'd feel like you were missing out. A lot of these look really good though. As I'm like scrolling through the like the monk feats, like use 2 actions to target somebody's touch seems really good.
I'm not that fond of how they changed deflect arrow. I liked that it was just kind of like a single deflection in 1E, but now they just give you a boost to your AC.
Yeah, I also kind of have a complaint about that, because before with deflect arrow or snatch arrows, you were spending feat resources to be able to negate ranged attacks, which if you're, against a ranged character is kind of a bummer, but ranged characters are generally built around shooting 10 arrows into your butt from 100 feet away.
That's accurate,
so,
yeah.
Yeah, you're only stopping 1 or 2 butt arrows per round, not, all 10 of them.
Yeah, here come the other 8, and he's got clustered shots, and ha.
Well, if I could have stopped 2 arrows, I would have still been in the tournament. But
that's fair.
Those arrows of slaying were wicked.
They were, yeah.
Greater slaying, excuse me. Which I still don't know how she afforded all those things and all the stuff that he bought for that character, so...
I'd have to go back and double check.
And Archer. Nonsense is what it is. Nonsense.
Nonsense! Speaking of nonsense, it seems like pummeling style / clustered shots on that conversation is built in, like directly into the monk, because it says, oh, I gotta find it now. Oh, where was the unarmed strike stuff?
It's in there.
It's somewhere in here.
Unarmored proficiency, which actually is a thing, which I think, while you're looking that up, unarmored defense proficiency is kind of different. I hadn't thought about that, but I guess it's a thing now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I suppose that would replace the scaling bonus, or it'll supplement the scaling bonus to your AC when you're not wearing armor.
Mm-hmm. And everybody gets it at trained. Like right out the gate, the monk is just a little better.
Yeah, well, that means everybody has like an
11 armor class.
Yeah. Well, you're an adventurer. You should have some idea of how not to get stabbed.
You got to have that little bit of buffer. So the attacks, when you flurry, if both of your attacks in flurry of blows hit, the damage is combined, which that sounds to me like pummeling style or like clustered shots in and of the fact that we'll put those together and then compare it against. In 2nd edition, it's not DR, it's resistance, but we'll compare it against the resistance. Which is pretty cool. I think if we're getting 4 attacks in a round, that last attack, if I'm any good at math today, my head still hurts from having my eyes dilated and all this light, but a -12 to hit seems real bad. Seems like you're kind of just punching the air at that point. Though at the end of the game, when you're taking
would it be -12, like, cumulatively on every additional attack? I think it's just -4 to every attack after, like, to all of them.
Is that how it reads? I'm
pretty sure that's how we've been doing it, because it's -4 because your unarmed strikes are agile weapons, so it's -4 instead of -5.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So all of your addition. I could be wrong. I'm probably not remembering how they did it additionally, and a -12 would be an enormous penalty. So
yeah, normally
you'd probably be better
swing.
off just taking the first 2 and then moving and doing something else.
Yeah, it's like you swing once for free, and then you swing it, it's a -5, and then a -10 on the 3rd one, if I'm remembering correctly. Now you got me questioning everything.
Would mean it's a minus. They're probably just going to break it apart into actions. So this attack action is normal. This attack action that you're taking with the second part of your flurry of blows is a -4. So when you spend your actions, is how they'll probably do it.
Mm-hmm.
Not, hey, each and every single one of these blows is going to take a minus and a minus and a minus.
That would be a lot better.
Be kind of crazy.
Yeah. But of course you don't have to worry about that at level, what was it, 19, I think it was, where all your attacks, if you roll less than a 10, you treat it as if you'd rolled a 10.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Perfected form.
Though I guess, like, rolling a 10 is probably still bad at level 19 when you're like trying to punch the Tarrasque in the teeth?
Not really. I don't know how the numbers are going to add up in second edition yet, obviously, because none of us have played it yet. But
Sure.
in first edition at 20th level, if you're playing a martial, a lot of the time you can hit the Tarrasque without rolling.
Fair. Okay, that's with first edition optimization shenanigans, though.
Well, yeah, but like that was just straight barbarian. Like I'm talking about like a straight no other dips barbarian could hit a Tarrasque or like some of the lesser deities on like a 5.
Yeah, that's fair, I guess.
I didn't need Kensai monk underwater rager.
Don't forget your paladin dip. It's important. I'm allergic to bad saves.
Always dip a paladin. That's
Got a double dip paladin.
anyway.
Can't do it if you're a barbarian. You can now.
Yeah, haha. Or you just play a blood rager.
You can now. I mean, I'm not even going to get into that. Multi-classing is a totally different video. I do hope they tell us about multi-classing in the playtest before they actually release it.
Yeah, I wonder if they're going to nerf multi-classing in 2nd edition Pathfinder the way they do in 5th edition.
I think they have to. Well, maybe not, because the classes
like
are getting
your ability.
Everybody can do it.
Yeah, but it was just that your ability score increases are tied to your class level and not your character level.
Yeah, so that may be you may not get the initial increase, or you may, because someone who took, I don't know, because if you take however many levels of barbarian, you're going to have the highest HP available. But if you dip barbarian and then you dip paladin, you're going to go down for your paladin. You're going to get a D10 instead of a D12. So I'm not sure how that would be a problem if that happens with everybody. If everybody gets their hit points via that. Because you're already going to have a problem with casters being squishy like you always do. So
That's true. Yeah.
All right, I'm just gonna run through the monk here really quick since Adam said his piece.
Fair enough.
okay.
It doesn't seem like Adam has a ton of problems with the monk, so I really don't have anything to pick apart. What I am interested about the monk hero tree, what I have read here, is that, like it says, it lets you pick your key ability between strength and dexterity, but they mentioned that it will determine the DC of some of their abilities, and I'm curious as to what those abilities are.
Stunning, or not stunning fist, but the good one, the kill one, quivering palm, is based off that.
Well, because that's a feat, isn't it? The powers, you take them as feats or something?
Yeah, it's the same with Stunning Fist, too.
Yeah, with Key Strike is a feat, and Stunning Fist is a feat. I don't know if they get it for free.
They do not.
Anymore.
That's a monk
But
feat.
the Quivering Palm is tied to your wisdom because you spend spell points, or you use key points are tied to your wisdom. But does it say that the DC is calculated off your key stat?
It does on Stunning Fist, it does. It doesn't specifically on Quivering Palm, but we assume.
Okay. I was more curious.
Because it is technically a spell-like ability. It is a spell thing, which is something, again, I'm not all that fond of. It does say you pay spell points to it. So it may calculate off your wisdom.
It's pedantic. You can call them spell points or key points, but they're the same thing.
Yeah, that's true too. Monks were definitely super magical.
Thing mechanically, but they're not the same thing. What is it? As a lore implication, or
then just call them key points and go to bed. Like, why is it an issue?
I mean, there are probably a lot of like low magic dummies running around. Like, okay, so in Rise of the Runelords, if Sheehan had survived to a higher level and he's doing, like, kick flips off the walls and doing all this crazy key power monk stuff, there'd probably been a lot of people who looked at him and just, magic!
Yeah, except like, no normal person should be able to do that.
But he was evil!
Yeah, that's...
Yeah, they would have been...
Shaolin monks can do a lot of this stuff that you see in First Edition. It's not... It's just taking it to a fantasy level. But that's not how it works when you start to take, okay, this is a quivering palm, it's a magic thing I do. Well, then why not just do magic?
Yeah, it does kind of make me wonder where, like, the Qinggong monk is going to sit in terms of archetypes and stuff like that. Like, if we'll get abilities just innate to the monk that let us have mage armor, or, God, I don't remember what all the Qinggong monk got, but there was a lot of really cool stuff.
Is it Qinggong or Qigong?
I'm pretty sure the QI in Chinese is Qing.
No, it's
No?
Qi.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. So the Qigong monk. Well, because I can't remember. I couldn't quote off the top of my head what the Qigong monk gets rid of for the ability to spend key points to emulate spells, but they can do stuff like.
It stacks with almost every other archetype, so
they clearly aren't giving it much.
Every archetype.
They can do stuff like hydraulic torrent, or I think some of the wall spells. Even they get a bunch of different spells where they kind of they're the Dragon Ball Z monk from first edition. You spend a key point, you shoot someone with a laser. You're doing magic, but because it's key, it's not magic. It's key.
But it's bark skin or feather step or scorching ray. Or
the power of meditation has given you the ability to literally transmute your skin into stone.
Yeah.
But it's not magic.
No, well, I mean, yeah, that was the whole headcanon of it. So if that's the headcanon, that you can master yourself to the point where you can use your own life energy as a fuel for your abilities, it feels, you know, headcanon-wise different than saying, I'm going to cast Magic Missile.
Then just like, okay, that's my argument though. Just change the name. This is a pre-test, beta test. They're still figuring everything out. If what they label it or categorize it as is your biggest problem, it feels like you're looking for something to complain about.
Yeah, that's a good system.
Well,
if the problem is literally the name.
Well, it's not just that's my problem with it. It's what it means for it's the implications overall. And what I mean by that is things just feel so much bigger, I guess is the word.
That I will give you.
Yeah. The power level has definitely increased between first edition and second edition from what I'm seeing.
Hashtag catfall.
Yeah. But I mean, if the peasants are also running around doing crazy shit, I'm gonna feel less weird about it.
Yeah, that's fair.
If the town guards are running around with like levels in whatever, you know, like a 1 or 2 level fighter can do, or you know, or the barbarian hordes are running around with dragon wings and shit.
But only for 3 rounds, and then for that 1 round they have to catch.
Yeah, and then for 1 round they're so tired they can barely defend themselves.
I guess that's a good way to segue into our conditions.
Wait, hold on. I didn't even get all the way through the first paragraph before both of you fucking steamrolled me.
Well, you better get going then.
Well, come on, man, come on.
All right, shut up then. I like that they're letting you pick your key abilities, but when we were talking about the other thing, how they determine the DCs of some of your other abilities, I'm curious as to whether or not some of the abilities that you can select later on will be tied to that key ability. Like having strength being your key ability will give you access to different abilities that you could select, like the difference between a soft style and a hard style, so to speak, if we're going to get into the monk flavor. Okay. Like if you're picking strength, you get like I don't know, like iron shirt style and your AC goes up, or if you're picking dexterity, you get, I don't know, some flowing water
style.
Yeah, flowing water style.
Or like dragon style that we're seeing does the 1d10 bludgeoning damage and has great club stuff.
Exactly. Like if that was an ability that you got that was tied specifically to strength, like you couldn't take Dragon Style if you picked Dexterity as your key ability, because it wouldn't really make as much sense.
Yeah.
It would be neat to see if they tied the mechanic to the flavor. That would be nice. I don't really see them doing it, but that would be nice.
No, so it has yet to be seen, and we'll see what happens.
Right.
I don't really have an opinion on Flurry of Blows so far. Whether or not that's going to end up being unusable on all 3 of your attacks, even like until the super late game, like I said, it remains to be seen. I like the implementation of just allowing really early on, like, yeah, you can just pop him twice in the head. Maybe you hit him, maybe you don't. But it still leaves you with 2 actions to like move or interact with an object or do whatever the hell else you're going to do that round. They still get the movement speed increase. It's not. I don't think it's not really any different than it was in first edition, other than it increases a little slower. It's 5 feet every 3 levels instead of 10 feet every 3 levels. You get to pick your own saves and how they progress. That's interesting. They're gonna have good saves no matter what, because they're gonna. I think they're just gonna progress as to having very high proficiency in all their saves. But some of your saves are just like 1 or 2 of your saves are just gonna be astronomically high, which I suppose in the flavor would be reflective of some specific aspect of your training as a monk. Whether, like, you increase your will save through intensive meditation, or you increase your fortitude through intensive training, or your reflex through
getting rocks thrown at your head.
Yeah, again, training, just a different type of training. But you still have the unarmored defense. You don't get to add wisdom to it. You guys already talked about that. Those were the main things. It was just those first 3 paragraphs were really things that I looked at and saw, like, oh, that's neat. I wonder how they're going to develop this further. I'm kind of iffy on why they're like, you don't get weapons unless you spend a feat for it.
But when you do spend that feat, you get all simple and martial weapons, not just like quarterstaff, sai, nunchaku, kusarigama, etc., etc.
All monk.
Yeah, it's all
simple
and martial monk weapons.
Fair enough.
But that's still better than like spending a feat to get like, now I'm proficient in stick.
Yeah. That's fair.
Yeah. Weapon group proficiency skills are
the way it always should have been.
I think so too. It makes the War Priest really good in Pathfinder First Edition. If it's just weapon focused for that whole group, sure.
Yeah, I don't see a ton of other stuff in here that I have any arguments with. I'm really curious as to how the key abilities are going to affect things, or if it's going to steal basically straight from Starfinder, and I'm going to misread something when I made Rod and pick the wrong key ability and be bad at stuff.
We're real good at making grenades to blow up your friends with.
Yeah. Well, it wasn't necessarily that Rod was bad. It's just that he rolled like crap.
RNG did not like him.
No, I just, on top of that, I picked strength over my dexterity, and I had wanted him to be like a law enforcement officer, marine type of character who was better with guns than he necessarily was in armored combat, and I took the wrong ability score as my key ability score, and it ended up not adding to the things that I thought it would add to.
Welcome to the wide world of a new system.
Yeah.
So now do we pivot over to conditions? Does anybody have anything else they want to chime in? I'll probably still play a monk, I guess I'll say, at the very end. I'll try it at least once, because even, like, in 1E, I dipped a monk, or I dipped a, like, scaled fist or Norn Kith, if I'm charisma-based, to get my armor class real high up there. But, like, the Zen Archer, the Soa, even the base monk, that's, like, my favorite class, almost, in terms of, like, the martials. It's real close with the Barbarian. It just depends on whether or not I want to hit you once real hard, or if I want to, like, punch you in the mouth 20 times and you're dead. So I'm still stoked for him. I'll still give him a try. But conditions, that's an entirely different story that I don't know. I guess we should just hit the elephant in the room that is barbarian fatigue before we go any farther, because I'm sure we'll all lose it over that.
Oh, we're gonna complain about the barbarian again?
Oh,
really
yeah.
quick?
Oh yeah.
Okay. So what I'm gonna parrot what I'm fairly sure Adam is also feeling. I don't like the rage cycle mechanic, and I disagree with Joseph. I don't think that systems should build around the meta. That's dumb.
Yeah.
I also, it's seeing how bad fatigue ended up being when the conditions were revealed. You're like a god of combat for
18
3
seconds.
rounds, and God forbid anybody still be alive and next to you on that 4th round, because they are gonna lay into you for an entire round.
Or a rogue sees you go in to your rage and they just wait.
Yeah, or you get like an assassin mechanic or something, and they wait for you to tire yourselves out, because if this is something that happens with all barbarians, any assassin guild with, 2 brain cells to rub together is going to be like, well, yeah, we'll give him someone to get angry at, who can take a lot of punishment, and then when he's tired for exactly 6 seconds, I'll stab him in his brain.
Yeah, find him when he's alone, throw a ooze or something like that at him that has a whole big, huge deal of hit points, and he'd have to rage to try and eat through the hit points, and then you just wait.
Yeah.
You just wait.
Now, the counterpoint to that, and I still think it's really rough after having talked to a bunch of people, like my patrons included, it feels super rough, and it's going to make you real shields down to flanking rogues that can crit, but you can, and this doesn't speak to saves, I suppose, but if the barbarian has a shield for that, like the round he's fatigued, he could attack once, take a -1, then he's at a -2 to his AC, and then raise his shield as an action, and then that third action is like whatever it is you want to do with it. It makes playing the barbarian a little more tactical, a little more like, to paraphrase my patron who I had his chat with on Sunday, it's my turn, put down phone, slap, 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 okay, now it's your turn, plays with phone. We're not condoning playing with phones at the table, that's bad. Nevertheless, like, it's not super bad, it can be played around, but like you have to play around it, and again, smart enemies or GMs that don't like their barbarians can, like, you can real quickly...
GMs who don't like their players.
Yeah. Gugs, when the barbarian gets tired, I'll pop out of the walls and just slap you in the face everywhere until dead. Especially if, like, God forbid the barbarian gets, like murderous commanded, say, the turn before his rage drops, and then he has to spend all his actions just wildly swinging, then he's at that huge neg, then you flank him, and then the crits start rolling.
Mm-hmm. And, like, I want to say, like, don't take this as the defense being, like, but smart enemies, because smart enemies are the bane of literally any class, no matter what system you're playing.
That's fair.
If you go into a fight unprepared, you're prepared to lose. Like, that.
Yeah,
right.
That is definitely
Which, I mean,
accurate.
sometimes it's just how the group plays, and if it works for them, it works, but if it doesn't, then they got, like, change or die.
Sometimes I like that playstyle better than the playstyle that's like 3.5 hours of planning, because at least you do something.
I agree with you. That's why I brought Cashew to the tournament.
Fair enough.
Cashew was I was like, man, what's the stupidest improv character I can bring in that requires absolutely no planning on my part? Done.
Can I eat the rock?
Yeah, part of the reason why Cashew is an homage to Malcolm characters.
Oof. Mal, if you're watching, we love you.
I will say...
I'm not apologizing, Malcolm. It's been too long.
I will say that if it was just the negatives, it wouldn't be as bad. But the barbarian would also get the hampered condition. And it says it's the opposite of... He already gets a -1 to his saving throws. So his dex is not likely to be super high as a barbarian. But it may be.
Yeah, it'll be... I think it'll be mediocre at best, probably.
Unless you're, like, finessing a rapier and raging or something.
Yeah, unless it was like a... It's just a bonus to attack rolls, and not to melee attack rolls.
Yeah.
Then you might get archer barbarians, and that would be real weird.
That would be sweet.
There is an archetype for that in first edition, though.
There
Well,
is?
yeah, that's urban barbarian. That's what I was using for Jedediah.
It was. The unbarb could do it too, because the unbarb just got flat bonuses to damage.
No, it was to melee. To melee and
Oh,
thrown.
is it really? Boo. Well, then you use javelins. Or slings, because that's a thrown weapon, apparently.
Apparently.
Yeah. But the accelerated, let me see, for example, the accelerated condition increases your speed by a certain value, the hampered condition decreases your speed by a certain value. If all it's affecting is your speed, it's not that big of a deal, I don't guess, unless you're chasing somebody. But, I don't know, it's... If it doesn't have any effect on your reflex saves, then it's not as bad. But, I don't know, I'm like I'm like you, Kane. I do not like a built-in rage cycling mechanic.
Yeah, it's weird and
not the way
video
they have
gamey.
Yeah, I was gonna say
And
it does feel
doesn't-
kind of video gamey.
It feels weird in the lore, and now that you mention the hampered mechanic, it feels like the barbarian could chase someone real hard for 18 seconds, and then he'd get a stitch in his side, and he'd have to just pant for 6 seconds, and then sprint full out for another 18 seconds, and he'd get a stitch in his side, and he'd have to stop for 6 seconds. Like it's weird. It's a weird justification for being able to do rage all the time, and I think it would just be better as like you can use this mechanic a number of times per day or something like that, and it would still be 3 rounds of rage, and then you're tired for a round, but you could do that like 5 times a day or something, or
Well, if they made it where you could rage your con bonus amount of rounds and then go into the fatigue, I wouldn't mind that near as much, because flavor-wise, it's like you wearing your body down, which was what it was flavor-wise in first edition. With Barbarian, it treats the Barbarian rage as if it's nothing to do with the lore of the Barbarian. It just treats it like it's some kind of thing that's mechanically they're supposed to do. It's kind of like in there because they're barbarians, not in there because, oh, they're doing it for this reason.
Yeah, I don't think I'll ever be able to get around, like, if they keep this, I don't think I'll ever be able to get around, like, this is a hotbar mechanic.
Yeah.
And I think second edition, if they decide to keep that mechanic, like, I'll try it at least once, but it might be the edition that kills barbarians for me.
Oof. Though I think there's a lot of people out there that might feel the same.
Because, I mean...
Leave your comment!
I don't know what games they're playing, but, our combats last usually about 4 to 5 rounds.
Yeah.
So that means that if it just lasts a little bit longer, if it lasts 6 rounds, which it easily could, with the way, you guys are having to go through certain things, like you went through Fort Rannoch. Well, you rage, down. So a fourth of the time you're down. If you go to, 4 or 8 rounds, you're down twice. And if anybody else in there is down, that means, or understands what barbarians do, which everybody would, because why wouldn't you?
It's become the meta now.
If you live in that world, yeah, if you live in that world, you would know what these people do.
Or even just beyond the mechanics, you'd probably be able to tell, like, that real angry guy over there is panting really hard.
Mm-hmm.
And like moving really sluggishly, like he's like, where did all that fervor go all of a sudden?
Oh yeah,
I should kick his ass right now.
Yeah, it feels less like Conan the Barbarian and more like someone who just stepped out of WoW for barbarians. But we keep talking about that. It's not going to be talking about other conditions. So. As far as conditions go, I like that they're kind of getting gradients in them that you can scale them up without having to remember, oh, shaken goes into this or that. It's more now frightened is a condition, and it just increases in intensity or rounds that you have it.
And like sometimes you might be running away, sometimes you might not be.
Mm-hmm. This also kills I think it kills, I could be wrong. This also kills lockout builds.
Like the Cornydon Smash Hearth will.
Yeah, or at least like easy access to lockout builds. Because I'm pretty sure it says in here that the conditions aren't cumulative. So if you take like frightened or fearful, whatever it's called, like frightened 1, and then you get hit with frightened 1 again, it doesn't become frightened 2. It stays at frightened 1. You have to affect someone with frightened 2 for them to be frightened 2.
But it wouldn't become like frightened 3. It doesn't become 1 plus 2 is 3.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna be like I feel like Pathfinder 2nd Edition is going to be a lot harder, at least out the gate, to optimize. Because everything, like, all the builds that we were optimizing in 1E are getting, like, their key pieces are being changed, so they're not as good. I think it'll be more that, like, everything is at least playable. Some things will shine more, obviously. But, like, you can do whatever you want.
Well, I think, like, things like that are also going to depend on setting, like they always have. Like, druids and rangers are going to do better in a wilderness campaign than a fighter, no matter what.
Fair, yeah. Well, maybe not. Maybe the background fixes that. If you know you're in wilderness and you take, like, Nomad or Animal Whisperer or something like that.
Or maybe. That's entirely possible. I think background feats will do a lot to alleviate setting divergence, but I still think the nature-themed classes are, like, they're going to shine in nature-themed campaign.
That's fair.
Which, I mean, they should.
I think they shine all the time. I think the nature casters, the primal casters, are like the best casters in Pathfinder. They're not.
I'm not a big fan of the druid spell list. I'm finding, as I'm playing Francis more, I'm not a huge fan of the druid spell list.
Yeah.
But I do think it's interesting that the monk automatically at 20th level is going to be permanently hasted.
That is cool.
He's permanently quick. And can use an extra action to stride, leap, or as part of a high jump or long jump. Oh, something that wasn't touched on. He can do a flying kick. Like when you saw... That makes it even more like Mortal Kombat and Street Fighter.
He becomes Liu Kang.
And you can pair it with long kick.
Just like Liu Kang across the screen.
I don't know. We were just complaining about how high magic this setting was, and now you want to play a monk that's like...
And throwing fireballs and turning into dragons. Also, couldn't you do that in first edition? Wasn't that an Unchained Monk thing?
What, for long jump?
The flying kick thing.
Probably. I mean, as long as I've been playing Pathfinder, I don't think I can honestly expect myself or anyone else I know to have full system mastery of all the 1,000,000,001 archetypes.
That's fair, yeah.
Yeah, but I don't think we're doing it at, like, 4th level.
Yeah, I'm digging it out.
You weren't you weren't Liu Kanging across the screen at 4th level. That was like a 8th or...
It looks like there's no level requirement in first edition. It's just the monk can move a distance equal to his fast movement bonus. The movement is made as part of flurry of blows and doesn't require an additional action. At the end of the movement, the monk must make an attack against an adjacent foe. This movement may be between attacks. The movement provokes as normal. So that's kind of cool.
I don't think I like that the movement provokes as normal. I mean, if you're doing it across a chasm, that's cool. But if you're doing it through a battlefield, you're just sort of jump kicking into a field of dudes that will volleyball you with their urukai fucking bastard swords.
Well, that's why you have ranks in acrobatics. Or crane style. As you fly across, you just slap them.
Position, now do a handstand, flip, do a backwards flip, all while in the air. Mario, I can alter my trajectory.
There you go. You've done it. So conditions, that's what we're supposed to be talking about.
Yeah.
Well, that was part of the conditions blog, was the enduring quickness and being able to do that long jump, and that led into the bicycle kicking across the screen.
Fair enough. I like how there's a condition coming down that imposes penalties on spell DCs. I don't think we had anything like that in first edition. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure we didn't.
Just like violent movement.
Yeah.
Being on horseback or on a ship in shitty water.
Well, that was a concentration check, which eventually you could just pass those.
Yeah. Or, okay, well, fine, then fighters with disruptive and all of those feats.
That's fair.
And I think there was a couple... I think Superstitious Barbarians did a very similar thing, only just much better because it was a rage power.
Yeah, fair.
Yeah.
But it wasn't like a flat... Like, if I'm DC 18, then I get hit with a thing, and now my spell is DC 15 because I got hit with that thing. And it makes you roll concentration on top of it.
To, like, the save DCs of spells?
Yeah.
Oh, no, there was nothing like that.
Yeah, that's super good.
As you're looking, as I'm looking at these penalties that certain things give you, and stuff like that, it seems like they're trying to keep the numbers lower, but I don't know that they're going to be all that successful at it.
Well, again, like that waits to be seen.
Yeah.
because, like I said, like second edition seems to be taking a lot of keys from the way like a similar way that fifth cut down on its math, or at least simplified its math into smaller numbers. And there's definitely a precedent for like moving forward even into the mid levels, like 20-30 points of damage being a lot of damage.
Yeah.
As opposed to like by level 10, 30 points of damage, it's like, ow! Stop that!
Owie!
I have 400 hit points. Cut that out.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, reading back onto this fatigue again, not to try and get us back on that, but
oh, here we are.
It bears putting out. It says everything you do takes more effort to do, so when you're fatigued, each action you use on your turn worsens the condition penalty by 1 until the start of your next turn. So if you use all 3 actions on your turn when you're fatigued, your defenses are at a -4 penalty. In the Barbarian's case, the fatigue from rage goes away pretty quickly, but if you get fatigue from another source, it typically takes a night's rest to recover. But with the Barbarian, this may get wonky in the mechanics then, because if their fatigue is treated as different than other fatigues, does it matter how much fatigue they have? Does it just disappear the next round? Because that's what they're making it sound like, so that they can enter another rage. If that's the case, then this is really a nothing problem with them, aside from what we talked about before about people are gonna know and target him. But also, like raising that shield, like was talked about a minute ago, to help mitigate that problem, that could increase his fatigue for 1 more round. He could stay fatigued for 1 more round, unless he just stands there.
Yeah.
Whatever's coming to it.
Now that I'm looking at it, it does seem to suggest that if you do anything on that round you're fatigued, you're also going to be fatigued the next round.
Yeah.
I don't see it that way. It looks like it's
by 1.
Yeah, when
Each
I see
action you use on your turn worsens this condition's penalty by worsens the condition penalty by 1.
Yeah.
Until the start of your
Because that'd be real bad. That would be not a playable barbarian if he's just burning himself out like that.
So is hampered 5 a cumulative penalty? Is that a -5 to your AC?
A -5 to your
That's
speed.
Yeah, that's just speed.
Oh, so your speed is... Oh, okay.
Which that isn't that bad, especially if the barbarian has like fast movement in there somehow.
Mm-hmm.
And even if not, like I like fast movement, I like characters that can book it. But in the average map, it's not gonna matter as much because like in a dungeon setting, you only need to move so far in a given round to be just fine. Especially if you have like a reach weapon, and you probably do because weapons are so really good in 2nd edition. You're probably carrying as many as your like crazy strength will allow.
So, what it seems like is the shield will be useless unless you have a good shield that's... Like, if you're using a buckler, they're probably going to nerf that and make it only give you a +1.
Mm-hmm.
But
Well,
if you're
really
using a regular shield... Yeah. If they're giving you a regular shield, then maybe you can get at least a +1 when you raise it, because you're going to increase it... No, you wouldn't get anything. Actually,
it would balance itself out because you take a -2 to your AC,
it wouldn't.
And then you get a +2 to your AC from the act of raising the shield.
Yeah, it's a +2 to AC, but it's a -2 to AC.
Mm-hmm.
So your AC is just going to be flat.
Or I guess it could be a -1 because if I have to take 1 action to draw my shield, if I'm like great sorting, and then 1 action to raise it, that still hurts.
Yeah,
Say nothing to your
and I
saves.
think the barbarian's going to be focusing into 2-handed weapons anyway.
Yeah.
So I think shields may just be a moot point.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. It's going to take a lot of playing before I can really pass judgment on it.
I think that the shields are definitely going to... Well, does it also... Are barbarians even proficient in shields?
I'm pretty sure.
Let's look at the barbarian class preview.
Like bucklers, I think. They can use shields, yeah.
Additional
You lose it when you take archetypes sometimes.
Well, no, I know in first edition they can. I'm just saying, are they gonna have shield proficiency in second edition? Because I could easily see them taking away shield proficiency in second edition.
Because of the way shields are working. I think they do too.
I think I think everybody's gonna have trained in it.
Mm.
Well, except.
Well, that would just be so they don't take a penalty in it, right?
Right.
Right.
Because if you're untrained, you take a penalty.
I do like that I do like that some of the effects that we've seen in the past, like flat-footed, are changing into conditions. Just to streamline things, because entangled and flat-footed were almost the same thing in the past edition.
Kinda. Entangled was way worse.
Yeah, entangled was worse because you were basically grappled, but it was flat-footed felt more like something. Hey, you're flat-footed now.
Didn't stop those gugs.
Yeah, it didn't stop the gugs because they weren't moving.
They weren't moving.
The sluggish seems okay for dealing with dex-based characters. It seems like they've got something for each stat.
Yeah, I think that's really cool.
Good. That DC for spells and stuff, though. It seems that Stupefied...
Stupefy! There, I did it. There's your meme. I'm not putting Dumbledore's face on this video. But there it is.
You shouldn't put Dumbledore's face on it. You should put Gilderoy Lockhart's on it. Jeez, Tommy, get your shit together.
I'm sorry, Kate!
Yeah.
I wanted to do Harry's, but I couldn't find a good one, so I just used Dumbledore's.
I wanted to do the Harry Potter meme.
Just use David Draymond from Disturbed again.
I mean, that's not. It wasn't. That was a good meme.
Thank you.
The stupefied condition seems to be a really bad condition, though, because it's imposing a conditional penalty on the DCs of the spells. But if you have somebody who uses either charisma, wisdom, or intelligence-based things...
So all the casters.
...on a regular basis, all your casters, including the divines, and possibly a paladin who's using spells.
Or a monk who's using spells in this crazy world.
Yeah.
I still argue that the powers feel more like even level abilities, like discoveries or rage powers. Or...
No, I totally do too. I really do. It's the phrasing.
Yeah. It's the headcanon that makes it different. Because, I mean, you can always have monastic wizards. That's all monks will be now, if that's how it works. But
you
it's not
grognards in your headcanons.
You can pick. Like, if it was something in a supplemental, like, advanced player's guide thing, I wouldn't care. But the phrasing of it in a core book, I don't know. Anyway, I don't know. I think stupefied wins the condition. If there was like one thing you wouldn't want to be, it would be stupefied if you were any kind of caster or a monk that used anybody that you had spells at all of any kind, including a rogue that was in spells. That would be the bad thing.
Stupefy! There it is. You keep saying it and I keep wanting to shout it.
Stop calling it out.
Can't help it.
You have to edit out you calling it out.
Oh no, I'm not. That's gonna stay in too.
Ugh.
Anyway, skills. Or not skills, but conditions rather. I had skills open on the monk. I don't know why. Like the first edition monk, that's where I'd scrolled into.
I don't know. That's kind of how I feel. I mean, I like what they're doing with skills. I mean, dang it, Tommy.
I've done it.
I like what they're doing with conditions. I like that they have rounds of effectiveness rather than just saying, oh, it progresses into this or it progresses into that.
I also like that they've given it that number rating where it's like frightened 1 or frightened 2 or frightened 3 or whatever, and it's not gonna be like you're frightened for 2d4 minutes. Enjoy running away for the entire combat plus the next combat.
Yeah, though that feels a little video gamey too. That feels like a debuff that's ticking down World of Warcraft style on you.
Yeah, no, I get that. I feel
I
like
get
the
that.
shorter duration just behooves quick play,
That's true.
and
Well-
it's one thing as opposed to like here's a buff and a debilitating debuff, and a buff and a debilitating debuff, and a buff and a debilitating debuff that just like cycles on and off.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a big balancing thing too, because if you can stun someone for 17 rounds, they're out of the fight. If you stun someone for 3 rounds, they might come back.
Well,
Yeah, they become a liability in combat, especially if you're playing with characters who are throat slitting happy.
Yep, for sure.
But like that's still like you could recover a character after 3 rounds. You're not gonna recover them after 2 full minutes of combat.
Yeah, that's like 2 sessions.
yeah.
Yeah, you're right.
Well, I mean, frightened. I don't feel like it's as big of a problem as like the rage cycling, because as Kane pointed out, it's not like something that is cycling. It's something that goes away, and I can still wrap my head canon around it because most of these things are going to be instituted by magic, like Terrify as a spell or something like that gives them frightened 5. Well, that means for 5 rounds they're frightened, so they take all of the frightened penalties for 5 rounds, and you can use a dice to take it down, similar to how you would do in Magic or something like that, Magic the Gathering, to take things down, and it lends itself well to how the games usually progress, and Magic forcing you to do something is different than you actually truly being frightened of something. So, or having a phobia. So,
yeah, and if it's in combat, I could see you making the argument for it being like, I know it's only 30. You're only scared for 30 seconds, but 30 seconds when you're counting time in rounds is a lot more time than when you're counting time in minutes. But you're not counting time in minutes in combat. You're counting time in rounds in combat, and a lot can happen in 5 rounds.
For sure.
Unless you're fighting Gugs for an entire month.
Hey, a lot of things happened there too. It just was really grindy. Wait till you guys find the drow not this week, but next week on Lord the Caliber.
What? Yeah, are we gonna find them next week? Because we kind of got. I feel like we got left a little high and dry. I'm a little salty about last week, to be perfectly honest with you, Tommy.
You found all the bat guano you could ever want. And then some.
Yeah, but I mean, aside from Francis having something to eat when everybody else starves to death,
Nitrous.
I'm a plant.
Nah, you guys spent too long fixated on where your niece is.
I could eat people. I don't. Well, I mean, would that be venerating nature?
Yes.
The circle of life.
And it moves us all.
We're gonna spend so much goddamn time singing in St. Louis.
Yeah, we probably are.
Speaking of St. Louis, you guys talked about Magic the Gathering, and I just figured I have my decks behind me. Should I bring my cards with me?
Fuck it, I'll bring mine. I don't know when we're gonna have time to even go to the con, but we'll figure it out.
Yeah, you guys should go to the con before me and Greg show up, because we're gonna get to the airport at like 2 p.m.
Yeah, Tommy and I can go to the con while you guys are still getting there.
It's a thought.
As
I could show up super
early. As long as
early.
we have some like presence at the con. We got the 2 important people there, and that'll be Adam and Tommy.
Yeah, guys, I'm important people.
Well, you guys are the heads of the channel.
Fair enough.
The Pathfather and the Black Dragon Disciple.
Boom. That's what I
almost call
you.
Your first name is Tommy, and I almost assume your last name is Wiseau, like the guy from the room.
Tommy was so.
You're tearing me apart, Lisa.
Lisa!
I swear I didn't hit her. Oh, hi, Danny.
I did not hit her. It's bullshit. I did not. Oh, hey, Mark.
Hi, Mark. Not quite. Though Joe used to give me a lot of poop for that. Anyway, where are we at? We're at 58:44.
Yeah, we're very close to a minute. Tommy Wiseau is an alien that escaped from Roswell. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. That dude is not a real person. Are we signing out?
Yeah, we might as well. I'm going to go ahead and say it here. Like I said on the Monk video that's going live around the same time as this, the Saturday morning 2nd edition blog video won't come up unless we figure out some time to do a video in the course of events over the weekend, and I hope we don't. It'll probably be late Sunday, early Monday by the time I get it out to you guys. But again, thank you guys for hanging out. Thanks to Adam and Kane for coming and killing a Monday evening with me, and to both of them for their support through Patreon or through taking my Patreon and editing my videos with it. Be sure to like and subscribe for more videos, and we'll see you next time.
Can I do one more plug before we go?
Go, make it happen.
We just hit 200 subscribers on the Interplanar Crossroads, and Adam is going to be running a one-shot in commemoration of that historical event. So, like, you should go over there and check that out and decide whether or not maybe you want to be a part of it.
If you do, I apologize. I said that we will run it in August. We will run it in July. That was my fault.
That is a lot closer. That means I have to actually get my character for it together instead of just, yeah, if you need me. I'll be there. I got a dude. I'll put him together at some point. Suddenly it's in 2 weeks.
That's still a lot of time to make a character.
Fair, yeah. All right.
I object to that.
I'm hitting
much slower at it.
You are. You're very slow. I'm hitting the stop recording button. Say bye, guys.
Bye.
Donald's not here. We miss you, Donald.